A black man, Jason Roberts, walked into the restaurant he owned, only to be met with a cold refusal. The manager deemed him unworthy as a customer. This humiliation became the start of a battle for Jason, not only for justice, but against those who put themselves above others. His response to this challenge would change everything, and what happened next would shock even the most resilient. But let's start from the very beginning. Jason Roberts, a confident 45-year-old black man, entered the restaurant he had recently acquired in partnership with a major chain. His elegant yet understated suit highlighted his style and status, though, in this moment, Jason preferred to remain incognito and not reveal his position. He wanted to observe the level of service and experience the restaurant's atmosphere from the perspective of an ordinary guest. Inside, the place exuded luxury. Soft lighting, hushed conversations, and an opulent interior all created an atmosphere of exclusivity that the restaurant strove to uphold. With a slight smile, Jason approached the hostess stand, where he was greeted by the restaurant manager, a white man named Tom Hendricks. At first, Tom seemed polite, but as he looked Jason up and down, his expression quickly shifted to one of coldness and suspicion. A look Jason had seen before in places like this, one that made it clear he wasn't exactly welcome. Tom curtly explained that all tables were supposedly reserved. Jason glanced around. Several tables were indeed occupied, but many others sat empty. Yet the manager ignored this, insisting that there were no spots available. At first, Jason thought it might be a misunderstanding, but Tom's polite yet evasive reference to special club member conditions left no doubt. The restaurant was actively discouraging guests who didn't fit their idea of exclusivity. The refusal not only unsettled Jason, but also made him wonder how far this kind of attitude might go for people like him. He knew the refusal was not due to the restaurant's actual capacity, but rather driven by the biases so carefully hidden under the guise of special conditions. A sense of hurt and disappointment began to swell within him. But Jason managed to stay composed, determined not to reveal his true feelings. As he left the restaurant, Jason couldn't resist taking a photo of the manager, planning to share this incident with close friends to discuss what had just happened. He wasn't looking for conflict or trying to make a scene, but knowing that even in his own restaurant he couldn't count on respectful treatment, he felt this couldn't go unaddressed. After the humiliating experience, Jason returned home with a strong resolve to expose the prejudice and arrogance present in his new establishment. For years, he had observed how such attitudes took root in society, but now it had affected him personally, and he felt a duty not to let this incident go unnoticed. Contemplating his strategy, Jason decided the best way to bring attention to the issue was to share his story on social media, without revealing his role as a co-owner of the restaurant just yet. He carefully crafted a post, describing the humiliating situation exactly as it had happened, the insincere politeness with which he was greeted, how the manager named Tom had disdainfully refused to seat him, citing special club member conditions. Jason added that, in his opinion, the refusal was not due to a lack of space, but was clearly driven by prejudice, felt in every detail of their interaction. He concluded the post with a question to his followers. Had they ever faced similar instances of discrimination? And if so, how had they dealt with them? The story quickly spread on social media, gathering hundreds of comments. People not only supported Jason, but also shared their own stories of discrimination in restaurants and other public places. The post sparked a wave of responses, each new comment adding to the collective outrage. Some users even tagged the restaurant's profile, demanding explanations and apologies, while several customers shared similar incidents of disrespectful treatment from the same establishment staff. Before long, the situation caught the attention of local journalists. One reporter, intrigued by the story, reached out to Jason and proposed an interview for a city newspaper, where he could share his experience in more detail. Understanding that media coverage would only strengthen his case, Jason agreed to the interview, but chose not to reveal his role as co-owner, emphasizing instead that he was speaking on behalf of everyone who had encountered this kind of discrimination. Soon after, an article was published with a headline that struck a chord with the public. "Luxury restaurant on the brink of scandal. a story of refusal. The article quoted Jason's words and included comments from other patrons, confirming their own unpleasant encounters with the manager. Jason knew the scandal was just beginning, but he was prepared to see it through to the end, not only to defend his dignity, but to demonstrate that even the most expensive and prestigious venues should never feel above their guests. The day after the article was published, Jason decided it was time to take direct action. The restaurant was already under intense public scrutiny, with discussions and outraged comments piling up under its social media posts. Jason knew that his next steps would be crucial in the fight for justice and real change. That evening, he headed to the restaurant, not as a customer, but as a co-owner, ready to confront the discrimination and hypocrisy within the business he had invested in. As soon as he entered, Tom, the manager, was once again at the front desk, but this time his expression changed instantly. The smug confidence was nowhere to be seen as soon as he recognized Jason. Under pressure from the scandal and media coverage, Tom knew the situation had gone public. Still, seeing Jason again, he attempted to save face, mumbling, "We can offer you a table if you still want to stay." Ignoring Tom's feigned politeness, Jason walked up to the desk and introduced himself in a calm yet assertive tone as a co-owner of the restaurant. The shock on Tom's face was unmistakable. He clearly hadn't anticipated that the man he had looked down on, just the day before, was actually an owner. Jason made it clear that he would not tolerate bias or discrimination, especially not in a place that was part of his business. Putting Tom on notice, he informed him that his time there was over, and that from now on, the restaurant would operate with new standards, respect and zero tolerance for discrimination. The staff observing the scene were taken aback. They had grown accustomed to Tom's condescending attitude and disregard towards certain customers, particularly those he deemed unfit for the establishment. Jason realized that Tom's dismissal was just the beginning. Real change required not just new management, but a complete overhaul of the atmosphere the restaurant projected. Addressing everyone present, including staff and patrons, he announced that from now on, all clients would be treated with respect, regardless of appearance, skin color, or assumed status. His words were met with approval and even applause from several guests who witnessed the unexpected but important turn of events. Jason knew this was only the beginning. There would be difficult decisions ahead as he pursued sweeping changes in the restaurant's policies. But in that moment, he felt satisfaction, knowing that his efforts would not be in vain. Following Tom's dismissal and his public commitment to change, Jason immediately set about implementing new standards that would transform the restaurant's atmosphere from the ground up. The first step was a meeting with the entire staff, where Jason clearly explained that there would be no place for discrimination, prejudice, or arrogance in his establishment. He spoke about the importance of respect and equal treatment for every guest, regardless of their status, race, or appearance. His tone was firm, and the staff quickly understood that these changes were not just temporary adjustments, but part of a deep restructuring. Over the next few weeks, Jason personally ensured that each staff member understood the new code of conduct. He introduced a training program aimed at helping the team better understand cultural differences and the importance of inclusive service. These seemingly simple sessions made a tangible difference. Employees began to treat all guests with respect, including those they might have once considered unsuitable for such a venue. Jason also revised the hiring policy, aiming for greater diversity among the staff to reflect the values the restaurant now stood for. In addition to internal restructuring, Jason wanted the restaurant to actively engage with the community, supporting local causes and participating in events focused on fighting discrimination. He organized a charity evening, inviting representatives from various organizations and activists who advocated for equality and justice. The event was a success and garnered media attention, once again underscoring the restaurant's transformation from an exclusive, closed-off space to a symbol of inclusivity and respect. These changes didn't go unnoticed. Articles about Jason and his approach to managing the restaurant appeared in local newspapers, highlighting his decision not just to hold individuals accountable, but to implement fundamental policy changes. Gradually, the restaurant developed a new reputation. no longer associated with arrogance, but with equality and hospitality. The influx of customers grew, and among them were people who found Jason's story to be an inspiration.